Food for the holidays is needed. Tacomans gather to share their vision for 2 historic properties. And the clean sweep is about to hit your neighborhood. These stories and more on Tacoma Report. Hi, I'm Laura Proctor. Angie Foster is out for the next couple of shows, but will return later in November. A city program is working to keep city streets clean by sweeping up leaves and debris on a scheduled basis, especially through the fall season. Stacey Ellifrit has more on what residents can do to help street sweepers when they come to their neighborhood.
Leaf season is October through December for the city's street sweeper program. During these months, this program puts extra focus on sweeping heavily tree-lined streets. Last season, it's estimated that crews disposed of roughly 350,000 pounds of leaves and debris.
Remove the leaves that clog the catch basins and try to prevent flooding wherever we can. And they're all over the city. So we're back and forth. Usually on a daily basis in leaf season, we'll take 6 to 8 loads of leaves out of an area with each truck, and we usually have 2 or 3 trucks in an area on any given day.
Outside of leaf season, residential areas are swept on a scheduled basis.
Street sweeping is done year-round. We have 5 districts that we hit. We hit every Tacoma resident twice a year. We send out mailers to let them know when we're coming so they can move their cars and their trash bins and yard waste bins and prune the trees back if they need to be pruned.
This program is also the first line of defense in preventing pollution from going into local waterways through the stormwater system.
We pick up contaminants from cars, from everything that uses the road. There was an impact study done recently that found that some of the tire debris contains chemicals that are harming the fish population in Puget Sound. And we get a lot of that with these sweepers. So we'll take anywhere from 3,000 to 4,000 pounds in a load on a heavy load of debris off the street, and we're dumping usually 3 to 4 times a day.
An important thing to remember any time of year is to never leave yard waste in the street. It can clog storm drains and cause urban flooding.
We are here to pick up the stuff that falls in the street and not the stuff that they put in the street. All their yard waste should be put in their yard waste bins, or they can take it to the dump and dispose of it for free if they're a City of Tacoma resident.
Help city crews this leaf season and throughout the year. On your scheduled street sweeper day, remember to remove all cars and waste containers. And before crews arrive, prune branches 14 feet above the road surface. This will help the entire street get the best sweep it can. For Tacoma Report, I'm Stacey Ellifrit.
To find out more about the street sweeping program, including when sweepers are scheduled to be in your neighborhood, visit the city's website. Administrative offices in the Tacoma Municipal Building Complex and in other City of Tacoma facilities will close November 11th in observance of Veterans Day. The Tacoma Recovery and Transfer Center will open as normally scheduled on Monday, November 11th from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Garbage, recycling, and yard and food waste pickups will not be affected. Tucked alongside Highway 16 and Jackson Street in Tacoma is War Memorial Park. It's a rambling, well-groomed city park with breathtaking views of the Tacoma Narrows Bridges and the Olympic Mountain Range. The City of Tacoma manages the park, honoring Tacoma and Pierce County veterans.
The original War Memorial Park was underneath the old Narrows Bridge. When they started to build the new Narrows Bridge, that's when they relocated the park up here. So our grounds maintenance crew maintains this War Memorial Park. Typically we're out here weekly. We know that the park's very important to the veterans, so it's important to us because we want to keep citizens and most importantly the veterans happy because this is their park.
The paved trails are part of the larger Scott Pearson Trail. The park features monuments dedicated to local veterans serving in times of war and peace. You'll find placards through the pathways honoring POWs, the chaplain services, major conflicts from World War I to present, and Pierce County Area Congressional Medal of Honor recipients. This past weekend saw a spooktacular turnout for the 2nd annual Hosmer Trunk or Treat event, sponsored in partnership by the South End Neighborhood Coalition, Sage Investments, and the Tacoma Police Department.
It's really important to us to throw this community event because this a specific area of Tacoma, years ago it was considered one of the most dangerous areas of Tacoma. And so along with what we've done, trying to provide more housing in the area, we've really brought light to this area, worked with the police department, worked with community organizations, massively driven crime down. And so we just want to celebrate that success and really give back to the community and say, hey, we're working so hard on the safety and beautification of this community. And so it's really just a celebration of that.
A fun-filled afternoon broke out with a welcome break in the rain for kids of all ages to trunk or treat at the newly developed Thea Apartments on South Hosmer Street.
I think this is a really great example of the community coming together. We know that change is something that we want out here, but change is also incremental and it takes time, it takes effort. It takes effort on behalf of the community, it takes effort on behalf of the city. It really is a community effort of everybody coming together, and this is just a prime example of that. It's everybody working together to make a safe environment for everybody.
The event hosted a variety of community and municipal organizations offering candy as well as information to all in attendance. After the break, updates on the City of Tacoma's budget. You won't want to miss it. The city's proposed 2025-2026 biennial budget is a comprehensive plan designed to align services with financial capabilities, city council priorities, and community needs for the upcoming 2 years. Today, Budget Officer Katie Johnston will discuss the intricacies of the budget development process. Hello, Katie. Welcome to the show.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning to you as well. So let's dive right into the questions. Yeah. All right. So the first one is, what is the primary focus of the city's 2025-2026 proposed budget?
So as we started this budgeting process, the city manager asked us to really look at building belief and trust. And so one of her key focuses was how can we build belief and trust through the budget process, even in a challenging fiscal environment? Because we know for our community that our delivery of services is very important, but equally important is how do we do that in a way that builds trust with our community. And so the way that we think about that is how are we building a budget that listens to community needs, really understands those community needs, then takes a look at our operations and the services we provide, how efficiently are we providing them, how are we providing them in a way to meet community needs. And then our final kind of core for building belief and trust is around transparency and accountability. So how are we, again, listening to the community, directing our operations and our services to meet those community needs, and then telling that story to the public, being transparent and accountable for the results of the services that we're providing. So that's been really our focus as we've been building this budget, is around this concept of belief and trust and how do we improve belief and trust with our community.
And I love what you said about the belief and trust and the transparency, because I think those are very important for the community to know what's going on. So thank you for, those things, making sure those things are happening. And so what is the forecasted budget gap in the city's general fund, and how is the city planning to address this?
So when we started this budgeting process, we forecasted that the city's general fund would face a $24 million budget gap. So we're in this position because the city's general fund has what we call a structural budget gap. So what that means is that on a regular basis, our revenues just don't grow as fast as our expenses. This biennium, we're facing a slowing of our economy along with increased inflationary pressures. So that's just adding to that regular gap that we're seeing with the pace of our revenue growth compared to expense growth. So we forecasted the $24 million gap, and as part of developing the budget process, the city manager had to propose a budget that actually balanced that gap.
Okay. And then, so as far as community feedback, how is that incorporated into the budget process?
So what we do is, as we go to to start building the budget, we look at all of the ways that we've heard from community so far. So we've been really intentional to not say that the only way to engage in the budgeting process and to give us community feedback is through the budget office or through the budget process itself. We work with community as the city in a wide variety of ways. So in the past year, we've done a community survey, a business survey. So we leverage those during the budget process, focused on kind of where community wants to see us address community issues and where they see the main issues are for the community in the next like 5 to 10 years. So things that we need to start addressing now. We also combined efforts with our comprehensive planning process that occurred this year and our strategic planning process. So again, if community is showing up in any of these places to give us feedback, what we're doing as part of the budget development process is saying, what have we heard from community already? What have they been telling us, and how can we incorporate that into the budget process? And one of the main ways we do that is our budget is developed through the lens of our community's strategic priority areas. It's what we use for a strategic plan. And so we've been working very hard to align our spending with those priority areas so that helps us better talk about community needs in those areas, what we're providing in services, and ultimately I hope will help also address accountability and transparency around what results are we actually seeing in those areas for the services that we're providing.
Exactly. And you did touch on this. So in terms of getting the community involved, where can community members find details about the budget development process, and how can they provide input?
So as I mentioned, we're using a wide variety of tools. So if you've already spoken to us, I'm hoping that we've built that into our process, but we still have some steps in our budget development process. So you can attend a workshop on November 6th if you'd like to see, and it's an online workshop using our Balancing Act tool that we dig into the general fund. We talk about what's funded through the general fund, how the general fund addressed the structural gaps. So just as a quick point there, we did end up having to reduce some expenses in the general fund to fill the gap. We also looked at alternative service delivery models. So things like we're transitioning senior services to being provided through Metro Parks. We looked at revenue options in the general fund where we're eliminating some tax exemptions and adding a new excise tax, but ultimately in the general fund we did have to balance the budget using some one-time cash resources. So as people come to provide feedback, it's a really good place to start at our November 6th Balancing Act event, because you'll get to see what does that budget look like with those different strategies taken into account. And then on November 19th, we'll have our a public hearing and the first reading of the budget, and the council will adopt the budget. Right now it's scheduled for December 3rd. So prior to those dates, you can come to council meetings, you can come to our Balancing Act event, or those actual council meetings on the 19th and 3rd. And then the other thing I would say is if people want to go online, we have a website that's www.cityoftacoma.org/budget development. And that has our online budget book, our budget in brief. And if people, as we talk about transparency and accountability, that's so important. Folks can actually download our entire budget data if they're that inclined to dig into the details. But it's all available. And then we've created some interactive dashboards that can be found through our website, where people can go in and look at some of the financials in different ways if they're curious about where we're spending money, the services, and the cost of those.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Katie, so much for all of that information, and hoping our viewers will take advantage of those dates to come out and go onto the website to get additional information. So thank you to you and your team and your office for everything you're doing. And again, the transparency and allowing the community to be involved, I think is so imperative. So thank you very much, and we hope to have you back for an update.
Thank you.
All right. Coming up, Tacomans offer their vision for 2 historic properties. Don't go away. The historic Cushman-Adams sites are wrapping up the second stage of the visioning process. Recent scenarios and workshop sessions that are helping direct the study for potential future uses recently concluded. Mike Ziak brings us an update.
Over the past several weeks, the City of Tacoma and the consultant team at OTAC have worked closely with community members during the visioning process for the Cushman-Adams Substation Future Use Study. And recently, a series of workshops and discussions wrapped up that brought together ideas, hopes, and visions for what these historic spaces could become.
We've heard from business folks that there's an interest in maybe leasing space or having a small cafe or coffee shop. So we know that there are those types of interests out there, and you'll see that our starting scenarios provide for those opportunities as well.
Whether it's green spaces, cultural hubs, or community centers, your feedback will help design options that honor the past and meet the needs of Tacoma's future. A new survey featuring some of the updated scenarios is now available. The ideas and feedback gathered will shape multiple scenarios of how the substations can be transformed into vibrant, useful spaces for generations to come. Visit the website to take the survey and share your vision. For Tacoma Report, I'm Mike Ziak.
The Emergency Food Network is an organization that's been providing consistent, nutritious food as an essential service throughout Pierce County for more than 40 years. Their role is distributing large amounts of food to more than 75 food pantries in the area, ensuring no person goes hungry.
And those food pantry partners do the direct distribution to our customers. We receive in the food in volume, and then we distribute out based on how many customers they're serving, a week, a day. It just all depends. And I can tell you the actual need has never been bigger than it is right now. So we've seen a 30% increase every month in 2023 over the same periods in 2022.
The holidays are coming on fast, and with that is demand. Michelle says that food is the universal language, especially when families come together, sharing celebrations and experiencing traditions.
I think it's a natural time of giving, right? People think about giving at this time of year, which is fantastic. I wish to be 100% transparent that they thought about giving every time of year. It is a time of particularly high need.
In Pierce County, 1 in 10 people face hunger. Log on to the Emergency Food Network website at efoodnet.org to find out more on their services and needs. The Norpoint Classic has become a tradition in Northeast Tacoma. The 5K and 2-mile run is a great way of burning off a few calories many will only gain later, Thanksgiving Day. It's a great way of joining family and friends for a brisk run, jog, walk, or even stroll the morning of your big feast on November 28th at 9 a.m. Sign-ups for this event are required. In a colorful celebration honoring the dearly departed, there was quite a party for the living that took place in central Tacoma. Mark McKittrick has more on this story.
A tradition with deep roots going back some 3,000 years to pre-Columbian Mesoamerica was honored in Tacoma this past weekend. The 6th Avenue Business District, in partnership with the Tacoma sister cities of Cienfuegos, Cuba, and Boca del Rio, Mexico, hosted a Dia de los Muertos celebration for Tacomans.
The Mayans believed that one day a year, during this period of time, the ancestors could communicate with their loved ones. So the loved ones set out food and drink and decorate the cemeteries in Mexico especially, and just honor and remember their beloved family members who have passed on.
The festivities included a procession along 6th Avenue, music, dancing, a community art project, and multiple vendors, all adding to the vibrant celebration of the cycle of life and beyond.
I was most looking forward to honoring our ancestors and those who we've lost. For me, this is an important day as the first Latina on our city council. Our culture celebrates those who have passed on, so I got to put my dad's name on the ofrenda inside. It's been 10 years since he's been passed, and so it just is a great way to honor that. And we have incredible vendors here. I got to help kick off the day, so it's just been a really fun day, and looking forward to get Sugar Skull painted as well.
And what I love about Dia de los Muertos is that, you're just always celebrating every year. You're reminded of your loved ones, and you're able to remember them and celebrate them and do it in a really festive way and colorful way. and with family, with friends, with strangers, with everyone. And I just think that it's a good day to remember and a good day to celebrate.
For Tacoma Report, I'm Mark McKittrick.
That wraps up this edition of Tacoma Report. A great way to find out about the services the City of Tacoma has to offer is by going to cityoftacoma.org. And a bittersweet moment for all of us at TV Tacoma as we say goodbye to producer Dave Gordon, who is retiring from the City of Tacoma after 17 years of service. A life dedicated to the service of others, Dave will be sorely missed. Thank you, Dave, and please enjoy this short tribute to a wonderful colleague.
At one time, safaris meant weeks of preparation. Equipment was checked and rechecked. Adventurers spent weeks or months far from home. Not in Tacoma.
In 2007, TV Tacoma was looking for an accomplished video producer who could cover multiple roles. The position was given to former U.S. Navy sonar technician David Gordon, who hailed from Detroit, Michigan. With experience in radio and television, and as a recent Emmy Award-winning producer and operations manager at Thurston County Media, David was the perfect fit.
We live in a world of sound that keeps getting louder and louder and louder all the time.
Along with producing segments for Cityscape, David was asked to produce the neighborhood show Across the Fence.
Hello, I'm Elton Gatewood.
And I'm Nora Doyle.
Business Matters.
Hello, and welcome to Business Matters.
Crew and direct live productions and council meetings. And more recently, he took over the role as producer of Tacoma Report. Ironically, for a former submariner, in 2009, Naval Reservist Chief Petty Officer David Gordon was called up for a year's tour of duty in the deserts of Afghanistan. David's skills as a video producer were put to good use in his role as a mass communication specialist.
Believe it or not, one of the best times for gardening is winter.
A true Swiss Army knife of a video producer, for the past 17 years David has captured and recorded the stories of Tacoma, its people, and history.
But the water here in the Northwest, this is cold.
Often with a touch of his sense of playfulness and sly humor that made the stories he produced stand out.
Charlotte's Blueberry Park is 20 acres of enjoyment. Just make sure that next time you come up here, you're not wearing a white shirt doing a stand-up for the news.
TV Tacoma wishes all the best to David and his family in retirement.